Hey everybody, this is a Brocade Campus Feature Explainer series. I'm Terry Henry. Today we're going to have a look at and a little fun with MACsec encryption. In this case I'm going to do it on the 6610, but it could be the 7450 or the MLX or other models. But this is a licensable feature, so if you don't have a license or at least a trial license, you're not going to be able to go through this configuration. So a few things we need to talk about before we get there. There's really three pieces to what MACsec does. So it's a layer 2 encryption, right? So it encrypts the complete payload of an Ethernet frame, including the VLAN tag and the ether type. So the entire packet is encrypted at layer 2, and it uses GCM AES 128 cipher suite for the encryption decryption. So 128-bit encryption. So this is on-the-fly encryption. It's always present on the links that you assign it to. The second thing it does is integrity protection. So using a shared CAK, which is CAK is a connectivity association key, it uses an integrity check value. It's computed on the entire Ethernet frame and added to the frame. So just like an FCS on a regular Ethernet frame, it builds this integrity check value and adds it to the end of the frame. And then the receiver at the other end also calculates the ICV and cross-verifies it with the computed value to make sure that that packet is the same when it left the sender as when it hits the receiver. And then lastly, relay protection. So you could stop, man-in-the-middle attacks, things like that. So there's a packet number associated with each frame, and then when it arrives at the other side, there's two modes you can use. So one is strict mode, which means those packets have to arrive in exactly the same order they left the sender. Or you could use out of order relay protection. So out of order packets are okay as long as they fall within a defined window. Um, so these three subsections here, they're negotiated with other stations using MACsec Key Agreement Protocol, or MKA. MACsec uses MACsec Key Agreement Protocol, MKA, for exchange and agreement of secured keys between supported devices. And then MKA uses the EAP framework specified in the IEEE 802.1x 2010 for communication. So essentially, it uses the same protocol communication type as 802.1x, which we're all familiar with. It's believed to be as secure as we can get. So that's a good protocol. All right, so configuration steps. We need to do four things to make this happen. One, we need to configure an MKA group, which has configurable parameters, optional parameters, cipher suite, replay protection, frame validation, etc. We need to enable .1x MKA on the interface. We need to apply the MKA group on the interface. And then at each end of the link, we need to configure the same pre-shared key, which is called the connectivity association key, or the CAK, and the CAK key name. So those have to match on both sides. So that's your pre-shared key. If those don't match, that link is not going to be encrypted. And lastly, I already mentioned this, but I'm going to say it again, you must have a MACsec license installed. This is a licensable and extra cost feature. Okay, so here's our two routers as usual. First, let me just have a look at the licenses here just to show you. I have multiple licenses installed in this 6610, but the last one here is an ICX MACsec license. Now this is just a 45-day trial license, but you can see that it's trial and active. So without that license installed, it wouldn't even let me create it wouldn't let me configure all of MACsec. It would let me configure part of it, but it would at some point say you don't have a license, so go away until you do. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to do, we'll go into config T first. We'll do .1x -mka -enable. So we're going to enable the protocol. Okay. Then we're going to do a MACsec config group. So we're going to create our MACsec group. And we'll just call it test for purposes of this. We are going to enable it on an interface next. So we'll do enable MKA on Ethernet 1/3/1, which is our link that connects these two 6610s together. And then we're going to do our pre-shared key and our key name. So that's the CAK, right? So the CAK again is connectivity association key, and the CKN is the key name, right? So you can make that whatever you want. It has to match at both ends. So I'm just going to paste it in. Oh, I thought I was. Key name. And then we're going to steal that from down here. Okay, so we're just going to paste that in like so. Okay, so that's really it for our basic configuration, right? So now we've got some interesting show commands we could do. We could do a show .1x dash mka config group test is what we called it. Oh, excuse me. It's config dash group. Okay, so there's really nothing up and running at the moment. Show.1x dash mka session on Ethernet 1/3/1. So it is enabled and it's active on 131. It's enabled, yes. Integrity, confidentiality is its capability. So there's some other parameters there. So there's obviously we don't have a peer yet, right? So there's no peer showing up here, and there's many options you can add to this. I obviously haven't gone through all the options and worked through that, but there are multiple options. We can also see the statistics rather than so it's rather than session. We're going to change that to statistics or stat for short, right? So yep, we don't have any encrypted packets, right? We've got MKA out, but we don't have any inbound from our neighbor because our neighbor's not configured yet. And then lastly, we could do a show MACsec on Ethernet 1/3/1. Oh, stat E1/3/1. Okay, so oh yeah, there we go. So there's detailed statistics, right? And on just about everything you can imagine, transmitted encrypted packets or missed packets or drop packets, etc., and received the same thing. So anyway, so let's hop over to our second box, and then we'll have something interesting to look at hopefully. So we'll go to config T again. We're basically going to do the same configuration. So .1x dash mka dash enable. So we enable MKA. We create our group here with an MKA config group. We'll call it test. Name doesn't have to match. And then we're going to enable it on the interface. Enable MKA Ethernet 1/3/1. It happens to be the same port that interconnects our switches. Then we're going to do our pre-shared key again. So let's see if we can get that to work. I'm going to grab it from this side over here. Okay. All right. So hopefully, with a little bit of luck, we should now have an encrypted connection between these two switches. So let's have a look. So we will do let me back out of that. Let me just show interface E1/3/1. So it is up and up. Okay. And yes, there's packets in and out, so we're good. Okay, so let's specifically look. We'll do a show. We'll look at the .1x-mka session on Ethernet 1/3/1. Okay, so here's our session. We have KI. And then lastly, okay, great. So now we have peer, right? So we've configured both sides. So we did not have that before. But now we have a live session, as you can see on both sides, right? So 149 messages. It was 103 when I ran that. And so obviously those statistics will keep updating and there'll be more messages going back and forth. But we can now tell that we have a live session, we're encrypted, and it's a secured connection between the two. What else can we look at? Let's go back and we'll look at the statistics on those. There we go. Here's the statistics. So we now have packets in and packets out. So we have a valid connection. It's encrypted. It's all good. We can look at the stats on the interface. So we now have transmitted packets. We have received packets. So our session is up and running at this point. And lastly, we could probably go back and look at that group configuration, although there's not going to be probably a lot to show you here. Yeah, there's not. It's just going to tell you what the group is, but there's nothing else to show at this point. There's no optional parameters set, so there's really nothing to show. But that's really the basic commands. I mean, the session command is the primary one, which is going to give you the vast majority of the information. Again, there is many options you can set on this. This is just a very basic encrypted connection, but that's really all you need to do. So that's it for today, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.